Welcome back to another episode of No Shame with Shane, where the takes have no lies, no bias, but most importantly, no shame. I'm your host, Shane Fordham, with all the shameless sports takes. Now, I refuse to come on here and talk about how my Sixers most likely will get swept in the first round against the Celtics. I refuse. I refuse. I need at least a few days to really be able to process it and take it in. But just know, I know. I already know. But what's already known doesn't necessarily need to be talked about. I'm already knowing. I'm already knowing. But what I will be talking about, just days away from the big night, from draft night, I will be talking about the Eagles, what I think should be the Eagles' top 3 draft focuses going into this 2026 draft. And number one, I think the Eagles' first priority should be heading into draft night is offensive line. I think it should no doubt be offensive line. I mean, the Eagles are used to having a really top 1, top 2 offensive line in the NFL, but we've seen this unit kind of take a dip over this past season. Like this year, the Eagles are 17th in the pass. They were 16th in the run. That's a dip from where we were this season, last season, the year we won the Super Bowl, where we were top 5 and top 10 respectively. But then, injuries also play a part in that as well. Cam Jurgens being hobbled this year, Lane Johnson being hobbled this year, Landon Dickerson being hobbled this year, having a huge hole at the right guard position after the departure of Mekhi Becton. We thought Tyler Steen would be able to fill that role, and he really hasn't, at least how we were hoping he would be able to. Of course, Lane, Cam, and Landon all missing games this past season. So, no doubt, 100%, the Eagles' top priority, first priority, should be offensive line, should be reinforcing that offensive line. It should 100% be reinforcing that offensive line. The reason why the Eagles' top priority should be reinforcing the offensive line is because, you look at how talented our offense is, right? With or without A.J. Brown, super talented offense. We know we got the receivers, one of the best receiving rooms in the NFL, with or without A.J. Brown. We know we have the running backs headlined by Saquon Barkley. We know we have a top 5 tight end in Dallas Goedert. But none of that matters if Jalen Hurts doesn't have time to get them the ball. We saw how we struggled getting our playmakers the ball last year. More so schematically than skill-wise. More so schematically. Not having, our O-line, having a regressed O-line does not make that easier. Having a regressed O-line does not make that easier. If Jalen Hurts doesn't have time to throw the ball, it doesn't matter how talented our skill players is, because it's going to be difficult for us to consistently produce as a unit, especially under a first-year offensive coordinator for another brand new scheme for Jalen Hurts in this offense. It doesn't matter how talented those guys are skill-wise if Jalen Hurts doesn't have time to throw the ball. So we 100% should be looking to draft offensive line first, depending on who's available by the time that 23rd pick is on the clock in the draft this year. We should 100% be looking to draft O-line first, 1,000%. My first target for the Eagles is Kadyn Proctor. I think Kadyn Proctor 1,000% should be the first target for the Birds this year, because just how skilled and valuable of a prospect this guy is, bro. Kadyn Proctor should 100% be the Eagles' first priority if he's available in the draft this year. And there is a world where Kadyn Proctor is available at 23. It varies. There are some mock drafts that have him going top 15-ish, but then there are others that have him falling to the 20s, sometimes some even late 20s. If Kadyn Proctor is available at 20 when the Eagles are on the clock, the Eagles should 100% be bringing him to the city of Philadelphia. We look at a guy like Kadyn Proctor. Kadyn Proctor is super athletic. Honestly, he kind of reminds me of a bigger Tristan Wirfs. We know how elite Tristan Wirfs is at that tackle position. Kadyn Proctor is just a bigger version of Tristan Wirfs, or at least I think he could be. Tristan Wirfs right now is 6'5", 320. Kadyn Proctor's coming in at 6'7", 350, and can still move pretty much the same. He has arguably the most violent hands, most violent punch of any offensive lineman in this entire draft class, alongside Spencer Fano. He can be a strong lead blocker in the run as well, on outside zone plays, on toss plays. He could he's just a guy that can get out and move, but then that can also hold his own in the pass. So I definitely think Kadyn Proctor in this offensive line, being able to shadow and play behind a guy like Lane Johnson, even being able to play behind a guy like Jordan Mailata because of, his ability, because of how people think he may be able to move from each side of the offensive line, from right to left tackle. Being able to play behind these two tackles specifically, in this O-line specifically, Kadyn Proctor to the Eagles could be possibly a generational move for the Eagles as a franchise. It really could be. We would be going from all pro tackle talent, Hall of Fame tackle talent in Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, to then passing that torch to just an elite talent-wise guy in Kadyn Proctor, who really has the skill set to do everything that Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata have shown capable of doing. So Kadyn Proctor should be the focus for the Eagles in terms of priority 100%. But honestly, this year, not having Jeff Stoutland in the draft process this year is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Like with the Eagles' need for offensive linemen in the draft this year and in the offseason, not having Jeff Stoutland will hurt. Not having Jeff Stoutland in those rooms, in those meetings, on the staff will hurt this year 100%, because we've honestly never needed to draft an O-lineman more than this year. And you look at Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland is known for his ability to develop talent. He's one of, if not the best talent developer position-wise in the entire NFL. Like only names that come close in my mind, that come to mind, are probably like Eric Yarber, former wide receiver coach for the Rams. Of course, he's known for developing Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, all pro guys. And then Christian Parker, our former DB coach, now defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. He helped develop Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean into all pro DBs in their second year. But so those are the only guys that really in my mind come close, at least that are immediately coming to my mind. But Jeff Stoutland, for sure, if he's not the best, he's one of the best talent developers in the entire NFL, at least when we're looking at specific position. So not having Stoutland University this year, the year where we need offensive linemen more than probably we have in the past 5 years in terms of the draft, it's going to hurt not having Jeff Stoutland this year for sure. It's going to hurt because when you look at the fact that we are coming off of significant injuries to the offensive line with multiple different guys, Lane, Cam, Landon Dickerson, all missing games because of injuries. You look at, in turn, that leading to a decline in production and success rate in pass blocking and run block situations. And then you look at what hopefully will be an influx of rookie linemen, in the draft this year, in the offseason this year. Not having Stoutland U this offseason is going to hurt a lot more than I think people were expecting. It's gonna hurt a lot more this year than it would probably any other year because of the situation that we are currently in offensively. It's gonna hurt. And honestly, the Eagles need to draft a tackle this year while we still have Lane Johnson on the roster. Because Jeff Stoutland is no longer in the Eagles building, we need to make sure that we draft an offensive tackle this year while we still have Lane Johnson on the roster. Because honestly, without Stoutland, Lane is just going to be all that more vital to the development process of a younger guy. He's just going to be all that more important to the development of a Kadyn Proctor or a Blake Miller or any other young tackle that we may bring in the draft this year. It's going to be all that more important. It's going to be important for a couple of reasons. One, of course, we're still going to have an elite all pro caliber starter that we can rely on, in Lane Johnson, a Hall of Famer. But then it'll also put Lane in a position where he can be the proper teacher and mentor that a rookie would be able to most benefit from and be able to learn the most from. Imagine Kadyn Proctor being in a position where he can just shadow and follow Lane Johnson around, copy everything he does, follow him around with a notepad and a pen, be able to learn from him in the film room, being able to sit with him and talk with him in the film room, in practice, in the huddles, being able to work with him and shadow him in the gym, talking about fitness, talking about his conditioning, his body treatment. Even just sitting with him in the common room, like in the like being able to just eat with him, like being able to just sit down in the team facilities and just eating with him, eating the same things as him, dieting, like real real weight maintaining tendencies and traits that he would be able to pick up from one of the most fit and athletic tackles in the league. Which is like one of the most, like just one of the most overall healthy and athletic and durable tackles in the NFL. Like, imagine Caden Proctor being able to not only watch Lane Johnson be Lane Johnson, but being able to actually up close and personal learn from Lane on how to be Lane, to learn from an all-pro what an all-pro does on a day in, day out basis. So being able to draft a tackle now while we still have Lane on the roster is super important now that we don't have a guy like Jeff Stoutland, because Lane would not only be able to help develop a young tackle like Proctor or Miller in terms of in terms of film, just being able to watch him produce on the field, but would actually be able to talk with him in those to talk with him on, at each level, in practice, in film room, in the gym. Like, that would be the best case scenario, because we honestly don't know how long we have Lane Johnson for. We don't know if we'll have Lane Johnson in the 2027 season. So the fact that we are going to be without Jeff Stoutland moving forward, it's super important that we draft a tackle while we still have Lane Johnson on the roster, because of how vital Lane could be for the development of a young tackle. Not having Stoutland makes Lane that much more important to the development of whatever rookie tackle that we hopefully will bring in the draft this year. They'll be able to follow Lane around wherever he goes, shadow him in just about every aspect of the training process, workouts, practice, obviously game prep, film study, like it would honestly do wonders. That's 13 years of NFL experience that Lane Johnson has. That's we don't have any other guy on the offensive line that has played at a high level for that long in the NFL. That's 13 years of experience that a young guy like Caden Proctor or Blake Miller would be able to soak up. So being able to drafting a tackle this season while we still have Lane Johnson on the roster is super important, because we don't know how much longer we'll have Lane Johnson on the roster for. We just don't. So that's super important. Second priority for the Eagles in the draft this year, I think, should be just the best overall offensive athlete. Like, obviously, we don't need a wide receiver. We don't need a running back. Then that leaves tight end, which means Kenyon Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq arguably is a top 7 overall offensive athlete in this entire draft class. He's easily the best tight end in the entire draft class. He has elite athleticism. He runs a 4.39 as a tight end, fastest 40 time ever by a tight end in combine history. He's a strong route runner. He can run pretty much any route on the route tree and create consistent separation. Like, he has elite hands, elite hand strength. He's elite after the catch. He can jump over you. He can run around you, or he can just straight up run through you. Like, he could be an elite yak guy in the NFL for sure. And honestly, like, he could have more, like, his ball skills could be more consistent. But overall, Kenyon Sadiq's ceiling is super high. Like, that's a guy that could be an elite talent in the NFL. And that is 100% a guy, the type of athletic freak that Howie Roseman is known for drafting and acquiring. that Howie Roseman is known for bringing in and developing into an all-pro type of guy, a Pro Bowl type of talent. 1,000%. Like, but honestly, the Eagles drafting Kenyon Sadiq, it honestly fits the historical pattern of the Eagles perfectly, because the Eagles have always had good to great tight ends. Like, from 2010s to now in the 2020s, the Eagles have always had a really good to great tight end. Like, from Brent Selleck to Zach Ertz to now Dallas Goedert. Like, Brent Selleck, of course, his era was like the 2010s of football. He was like a top 10 tight end in the NFL. Then, of course, Zach Ertz, late 2010s, early 2020s era. Of course, in his prime, he was a top 1 to 2 tight end in the NFL. And now Now, that obviously Dallas Goedert being a top 5 tight end, Kenyon Sadiq could be next. Kenyon Sadiq could honestly be next up on that sort of tight end hierarchy in the Eagles franchise history. Like, I look at a guy like Kenyon Sadiq, like in terms of talent, in terms of ability, like in terms of just overall athleticism. Like, when I look at Kenyon Sadiq, I see a prime George Kittle. I see a Trey McBride. I see a Evan Ingram. I see a Tyler Warren. Like, Kenyon Sadiq could be the next chapter, the next tight end chapter for the Eagles franchise. He could be the next elite level tight end in Eagles history. And like, it honestly fits the profile for Howie Roseman draft wise perfectly to a T. So Kenyon Sadiq could very realistically be an Eagle. And there is a world, just like Caden Proctor, there is a world where Kenyon Sadiq does fall to 23. Like, some mock drafts have him going top 15. Some have him dropping to the 20s range. But like, if Kenyon Sadiq is still there by the time the Eagles are on the draft board in the first round, they shouldn't hesitate to pick up Kenyon Sadiq. They shouldn't hesitate. Like, depending on who is still available, like if Caden, like depending on what O linemen are still available, like if no Caden Proctor, if no Blake Miller, if those guys are taken, I think the Eagles should go just the overall best offensive talent, best offensive athlete overall that's left in the draft class, and that will be Kenyon Sadiq. Obviously, we don't need a receiver. We won't be looking at running backs. Kenyon Sadiq will be the best offensive talent, offensive athlete available at that point in the draft. Like, this is like an extremely high ceiling on the kid. Like, 100%, I wouldn't mind seeing Kenyon Sadiq be selected 23rd overall in the draft at all. Third priority for the Eagles should no doubt be edge. We need an edge rusher bad. And honestly, Akeem Mesidor from Miami fits the description perfectly. He fits the description perfectly. Like, we've seen that in order for the Eagles defense to be as effective as possible, we need to be able to put pressure on an opposing quarterback. We need to. Like, we saw that just this past season. Like, pre-Jalen Phillips, the Eagles defense was 25th overall in the NFL. With Jalen Phillips, we were top 5. Like, it was night and day with an edge rusher like Jalen Phillips. We cannot afford to take that position lightly anymore. We can't afford it. Like, we're extremely light at the edge position right now. Extremely light. Like, we got Jalix Hunt, we got Nolan Smith, then we got Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who we picked up this offseason. We got Arnold Ebiketie, and then we have Jose Ramirez. I don't know who 3 of those guys are. Well, I don't know who the last 2 guys are. Like, we're extremely light. Like, Mesidor could come in and be a guy. Like, we have no, like, there's no real guys in that position group right now. Like, aside from Jalix Hunt, we don't have any real guys over there in that group at that edge position. Akeem Mesidor from Miami, he could come in and be a guy. Be a starter guy coming off the edge with Jalix Hunt. Because we need a starter capable edge on this defense going into the 2026 season. Because we're not going to rock the way this is. Like, I still think we should trade for Jonathan Grenard, but I think Akeem Mesidor is the next best thing. Because right now, we can't just rock with who we got at the edge position. We just can't. Like, you look at Akeem Mesidor, I think on top of, like, Akeem Mesidor would be a great pick for the Eagles at 23rd overall. Like, not just because he received elite coaching from an elite guy in Jason Taylor, Hall of Fame edge for the Dolphins, but also just his own talent. Like, honestly, Akeem Mesidor to me is just as good of an edge rusher prospect as Ruben Bain coming off the edge. To me, Mesidor can do anything Bain can do coming off the edge, can be just as effective. Now, Bain is, of course, more of a versatile pass rusher because that's a guy you can kind of move around on the D-line. He plays a little better on the inside. Like, he's a guy that can play just as well, can be just as effective in a 3-tech as he is in a 5 or in a ghost 9. But, like, with that being said, Mesidor can still win on the inside just as he can on the outside. Like, that's honestly why his Euro step is so dangerous coming off the line because he can be a threat inside just like he is on the outside. Like he has elite hips coming around the corner. He has violent hands. He has counter moves on top of counter moves on top of counter moves. He has one of the quickest get-offs in this class in all of college football this past year. And he is effective against the run and the pass. Like he's the guy that's always going to be able to, like kind of similar to Caleb Downs. That's a guy that'll always be able to find the ball. That'll always be able to find the ball. And if he doesn't get to the ball, he's going to keep running towards the ball until the ball carrier is on the ground. That's a guy that'll give you 110% effort on each and every down. So Akeem Mesidor for me would be a great pickup. Now there is a slight downside because he's a little older, 25 years old. But if I'm the Eagles, I'm taking that chance. Considering who we have in the edge rush room right now, if I'm the Eagles, I would have no issue taking a shot at Akeem Mesidor, number 23 overall, 23rd overall. Like, I would rather, in terms of looking at the Eagles draft prospects, I would rather take a chance on Mesidor than not. I would much rather take a chance on Mesidor than not. Like, I get he's 25 years old, but this is also a guy who has received elite coaching from Jason Taylor, a Hall of Fame edge, one of the best pass rushers in NFL history in the game of football. I honestly think those two things cancel out. Like, yeah, he'll be coming in as an older guy in the league, but he also would be coming in with the unique player coach experience of being able to learn up close and personal from a guy like Jason Taylor, being able to learn those techniques, being able to learn those mental tendencies, those gameplay tendencies, just being able to acquire that unique skill set both mentally and physically. I think those two things cancel out. And honestly, I would feel better about having a 25-year-old rookie coming off the edge for us right now than almost anyone else we have in that edge room. Like, I would feel better about starting the 25-year-old rookie from Miami, like starting the 25-year-old rookie from Miami, or at least having him in rotation, than just playing with what we have as is, looking at that edge rushing room. Looking at that edge room. I would 100% feel differently. Like, I don't know who certain guys are even in this edge room. Like, I don't know who Arnold Ebiketie is. I don't know who Jose Ramirez is. Like, no disrespect to those guys, but I don't know who they are. I would feel better having Mesidor in the rotation than just running with who we got as is right now. Like, even looking at our top dogs in Jalyx Hunt and Nolan Smith, like, even those two have had underwhelming spurts. Like, Nolan Smith has been underwhelming. Part of that has been due to injuries, dealing with, I guess issues with his shoulder. And he just hasn't taken that step forward as a pass rusher so far in the NFL. He's effective against the run, but he just hasn't been an effective pass rusher so far, at least in terms of what we were hoping he would be. Jalyx Hunt, he was underwhelming pre-Jaelan Phillips. Near invisible. Now, granted, he showed us the type of playmaker he can be when there is another guy coming off the edge that would attract attention from an offensive line. Of course, in addition to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Morrow being on the interior. But pre-Jaelan Phillips, he was underwhelming. I would 100% be more comfortable having a guy like Akeem Mesidor who could come in and be another guy than I would just running with the edge rushers that we have as is, just running with that group that we have now as is. So I would 100% be willing to take a shot at Akeem Mesidor with the 23rd overall pick in the NFL draft this year. Well, that's all I got for today's edition of No Shame with Shane. If you haven't already, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. And I will be back later on to talk more shameless takes, but most importantly, to talk more draft news, maybe even post-draft news, post-draft reaction to what the Eagles do on Thursday night at the draft.